Ca ơi.
Vâng.
Chào buổi sáng.
Chúc bạn ngày mới an lành.
Mai Ca ơi, mở nhạc sôi động.
Mai Ca ơi, mấy giờ rồi?
Dạ, hiện tại là 6 giờ 57 phút.
Mai Ca ơi, mở tin tức.
Mời bạn nghe những tin tức nổi bật hôm nay trên báo Tuổi Trẻ.
Mai Ca ơi, bật nồi cơm điện. Mai Ca ơi, thời tiết ngoài Hà Nội thế nào?
Nhiệt độ ở Hà Nội hiện tại là 12 độ.
Mai Ca ơi, đợi gặp cô Út. Con ơi, xuống ăn sáng. Mẹ bỏ hộp giúp con nha, con phải đi làm sớm.
Mai Ca ơi, đặt giúp tôi một chiếc xe 4 chỗ.
Con ở nhà ngoan nhé.
Gọi đến phòng Sam. Sam ơi.
Mai Ca ơi, mở chương trình cải lương đài VOH.
Mai Ca ơi, tiếng hổ kêu.
Mai Ca ơi,
chúng ta cách mặt trời bao xa?
149.160.000 km. Bạn đã uống thuốc chưa?
Đọc sách muôn kiếp nhân sinh.
200 chia 12 nhân 359 cộng 7 mũ 8 bằng bao nhiêu?
Tử vi hôm nay của chị Mai.
Ngày mai là ngày mấy?
Nếu bạn bữa nay thế nào? Đọc thơ cho tôi nghe đi.
Chị Câu, xin chào, tôi là người Việt Nam sang Việt Nam.
Hello, I'm Vietnamese.
Mai Ca ơi, ở kênh VTV3.
Bản tin tối nay sẽ có những nội dung chính đáng chú ý sau đây.
Sam của mẹ ở nhà ngoan nha, nhớ nghe lời ba với nội. Mẹ đi về sẽ mua quà cho con. Chúc con ngủ ngon.
Mai Ca ơi, kể chuyện cổ tích.
Ngày xưa, có một cô bé xinh xắn, ngoan ngoãn. Từ đây về sau, khăn đỏ không bao giờ dám làm sai lời mẹ dặn nữa.
Mai Ca chúc Sam ngủ ngon và mơ thật đẹp nhé.
Generative AI is transforming healthcare with synthetic data, unlocking high-quality, unbiased data for medical device companies, pharmaceutical companies, and academic medical centers, leading to faster discoveries and improved patient outcomes. Generative models can help identify complex disease mechanisms, predict clinical outcomes, and prescribe tailored treatments for patients. MONAI, a framework for building and deploying medical AI, is also advancing generative AI with methods to create large synthetic datasets for training generalizable AI models that can learn from evolving patient data while preserving patient privacy. The latent diffusion model is a breakthrough in generative AI for medical imaging and is being developed by King's College London, co-founders of MONAI. This model can generate synthetic medical images of the human anatomy, including high-resolution brain images. It was trained on the UK Biobank dataset and NVIDIA DGX Cloud in just 1 week, enabling researchers to control global and regional brain volumes and adjust for age, gender, and disease. Generative AI is already making an impact in clinical settings. King's College London and University College London have developed a novel transformer-based outlier detector that aids in clinical evaluation of deployed segmentation models. The results suggest that this approach can be used to ensure only expected and good quality data reaches downstream decision-making algorithms. NVIDIA, Mount Sinai, and East River Imaging have collaborated to develop a new generative AI model for medical imaging known as RAD-ImageGAN. By utilizing the StyleGAN XL model and training it on the RAD-ImageNet dataset, RAD-ImageGAN has become the most diverse synthetic data generator for 2D medical imaging. The model is pre-trained, robust, and adaptable to create other 2D medical imaging models, providing greater flexibility for medical researchers and professionals. Overall, generative AI models such as RAD-ImageGAN and latent diffusion models are driving a revolution in healthcare. They provide high-quality data that can be used to train deep learning models, leading to improved patient outcomes and enhanced performance of medical imaging models. To access these models, visit the NVIDIA NGC catalog or the MONAI Model Zoo. Ready to join the future of healthcare powered by generative AI? Join the MONAI community today.
couple of weeks back, I saw a Vogue headline that read, "What to expect at the first AI Fashion Week." And it got me thinking, is the future actually here? Do we now live in an age where AI is inextricably linked to every facet of human life? Or at the very least, is that where we're headed? To me, that's equal parts exciting and terrifying, and I think a lot of that has to do with the uncertainty of it all. Like, what does an AI Fashion Week even mean? What does a fashion industry infused with artificial intelligence look like? Well, in this episode, that's what I want to dive into. I was thinking about saving this for a Patreon episode, which is where I usually talk about the inner workings of the fashion industry, but because there's been so much discussion around AI lately, I just figured I'd put this out there. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Figuring out where to start with such a large topic is honestly quite challenging, but I guess it's best to start with that AI Fashion Week I was talking about. AI Fashion Week was a first-of-its-kind competition backed by Spring Studios and the Revolve Group, where designers were invited to submit AI-generated collections. Generally speaking, the guidelines for the competition were pretty broad. You were allowed to use any AI tools you wanted, but you just had to make sure that the collections could actually be produced. The reason that's so important is because the 3 winners of the competition will actually get a chance to see their collections produced and then sold on Revolve's website. In total, they received more than 350 submissions, so that means there's already a couple hundred AI designers out there. The public voted on the top 10, and from there, a panel of judges, including the CEO of Revolve, will select the 3 winners. The top 10 have already been selected, and the results are honestly astounding. Some of the images have this slight gloss that hints they were generated by AI, but other than that, you would never really know. Honestly, it seems too good to be true, and for me, it raised a number of questions. First, how hard is it to design collections using AI? A number of collections from AI Fashion Week were designed using the same program called Midjourney. To put it simply, Midjourney takes text inputs and turns them into realistic images. So if you type in something like blue pineapple, it'll spit out a picture of a blue pineapple. There's a website where you can do this for free called Stable Diffusion, so I decided to get to the bottom of my question by trying to design a single outfit by myself. I wasn't really sure what to do, so I went with an outfit that looks like it was designed by Rick Owens as part of a Gucci collaboration. And hey, I have to say that I didn't hate the results. I don't know this for certain, but it sort of seems like Stable Diffusion was referencing Tom Ford's Gucci, while applying Rick Owens' approach to draping, and of course his signature black and white color palette. Now, these outfits may not be showstoppers, and may not be quite as good as anything that Rick Owens or Tom Ford would actually make, but I do think that you could put these outfits on a runway and no one would really notice. Now, this leads me to my other question, which is, how original are these AI-generated designs? By nature, these programs are trained by some sort of source material, meaning that an AI's understanding is limited to whatever data it has access to. In some cases, this could be the entire internet. So if I ask it to make a purple pair of shoes, it'll scan millions and millions of pictures of shoes on the internet, and then spit out a purple version of whatever it determines a shoe looks like. I'm oversimplifying, and someone with a more technical background could probably explain this much better than I am, but in a nutshell, that's how it works. This has opened AI-generated designs up to some criticism, because the argument could be made that the output is just a combination of designs that are already out there. There may be nothing exactly like it, but there may be a whole bunch of designs that are very, very similar. That's why very specific language prompts tend to work the best for creating truly unique images. For AI Fashion Week, I'm sure that the designers used incredibly specific prompts, and then they were also allowed to use Photoshop to make final edits. That said, they did create original pieces of work. It's just weird to think that any dress you see was generated with the help of other actual dresses that the artists probably didn't design. At face value, that doesn't sound great, but think about it this way. Anytime a designer sits down to design a dress, they're subconsciously recalling every dress they've ever seen, because that's how they've developed their own personal understanding of what a dress looks like. If you had never seen one before, you wouldn't know what one looks like, but because you've seen many of them before, you use them as a baseline for designing your own. So in theory, AI tools are doing the exact same thing, but the difference is that they've seen more dresses, they can recall them more accurately, and they can do it much more quickly. What humans have that AI tools don't is the artistic touch. Midjourney may be able to create a dress, but it doesn't have the ability to make value judgments, meaning it doesn't have the ability to determine whether it created something that looks good or something that looks bad. That's why so many AI generations look as wonky as they do, and that's why the most successful AI designers use incredibly detailed text prompts. They're determining what looks good, and they're just telling the AI to make that. Now, of course, there is some element of surprise here, because you never know exactly what the program is going to come up with. If that weren't the case, the designers would just design the collections without the help of AI, and I think that's the fun in this. Technically speaking, the AI programs have more limitations than the human mind, and that makes sense. AI is limited to what it can learn from its finite data source, whereas the human mind can wander in infinite directions. But the algorithms that drive AI may generate something that a human would never think to create, because AI cannot think exactly like a human. At least not yet. Whether or not there's artistic value in that, you can be the judge. In a best case scenario, AI could prove to be a great tool that helps designers instead of replacing them, but in a worst case scenario, there's a chance it could replace them. It's interesting to think about a world where design schools may have a class about writing AI prompts. We may not be at that point quite yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if that happens in the very near future. I'm also going to predict that most major fashion houses, in some way, shape, or form, will begin adopting generative design in the next few years, and that will have more to do with marketing than it will with actual product design. Remember when NFTs first started coming out, and then in the blink of an eye, it seemed like every company was releasing an NFT under the guise that they were taking part in some technological transformation? Well, I think it's now safe to say that almost none of those companies cared about the technology behind NFTs. They were just trying to ride the wave and make a quick buck while doing so. Make no mistake, I don't think that AI is going to be the same type of fad that NFTs were. In fact, I'm confident that AI is here to stay. But I do foresee a ton of brands releasing AI-generated collections just so they can market them as AI-generated collections. It's a hot topic right now that they know will get attention, perhaps even create controversy, so I fully expect that. But in my mind, the real winners of the AI revolution will be the brands that adopt AI for the purpose of idea generation, not to take over the entire design process. So hopefully that's a sufficient primer on generative design, but the design process is just one small section of the fashion industry where AI is expected to have a significant impact. So next, let's talk about the people buying these designs, the consumer.
We visited a farmer. He said, oh, you can go and pick as much capsicum as you want from the field. And then I asked, are you going to harvest this? And he said, well, no. All this crop will be plowed tomorrow. The cost that I have in the pickers supersedes what I would get for the crop in the supermarket. This really motivated us to look at, well, if we can actually reduce some of these costs and prevent some of the food wastage and help the farmers to have a more profitable enterprise, that would be good motivation for our project. When we started working on this, we looked at the progress that other groups have done globally and the progress they reported, and it was actually very modest. So what we did is we concentrated on what we thought that were the key bottlenecks. One of them was the perception, how the robot can see the fruit in the bush, and the other one is the actual picking tool.
We've been trying to get our team together to set up our vision system or our perception system. He's trying to do it in the real world, so he's got all these challenges of the unstructured parts of the plant to have to detect capsicums in, figure out where the capsicum is in the plant, and he does that by fitting what we call a geometry model to the capsicum, and that gives you a location attached to it using a custom built tool that we've done, and then also detach it from the plant.
It's a fairly tricky task to pick sweet peppers in a greenhouse environment where every piece of fruit's a different shape. They can be hidden by leaves and behind branches, so it's a challenging task to design computer algorithms and grippers that can grab these pieces of fruit and cut them from the plant.
At the moment, our prototype is working very well in protected environments. We're trying to extend it to other crops, such as mangoes, apples, avocados, and strawberries. By having a robot, you can do selective harvesting. So therefore, you can harvest your crop at the optimal time window all the time at different stages. On our first trials, we have a success rate of about 90%, which was remarkable for the short amount of time in which we've been working the project.
Harvey has so much potential. If he can be autonomously navigating down crop rows and harvesting capsicums 24/7, then the farmers will just benefit from that greatly. There'll be lower risk and also better profit as well. That's a really exciting thing.
We are seeking investment to automate several aspects of it, and again having a sustained trial in a real cropping environment to look at the benefits that this could bring to the farmers.
Returning this technology to the farmers will really be beneficial to Queensland and to Australia and maybe into the world.
Imagine having a 5-star chef cooking all your meals for you every day of your life. This is the dream and the goal that Mully Robotics is trying to accomplish. They have created the first fully automated and intelligent robots that can learn recipes, cook all kinds of foods with a remarkable precision, and then clean up after themselves. Molly Robotics built a working prototype of the Molly Kitchen. This futuristic-looking workstation is equipped with advanced robotic arms and hands that can grip kitchen utensils, measure liquids, crack eggs, you name it, they can do it. MasterChef winner Tim Anderson was hired on as Molly's development chef and helped the robotics team teach the robots how to cook by using motion capture gloves and wristbands, much like a video game. This means you can potentially record the movements of other famous chefs and have a meal prepared for you indirectly by, let's say, Chef Gordon Ramsay.
You're in denial!
Molly Robotics recently launched a crowdfunding campaign looking for investors and potential testers of the prototype kitchen to help them improve the robot's ability. Molly believes that they can do for cooking what smartphone devices have done for communications and what vacuum cleaners have done for cleaning, according to the product video. You can read more about the Molly Robotics Kitchen at cnet.com.
Okay.
We welcome you back to CBS Mornings. It's 7:30. This morning, our series Age of AI looks at how artificial intelligence is set to transform the beauty and cosmetics industry. The market for AI in beauty and cosmetics is already a multi-billion-dollar business with a B globally. And researchers predict it will grow rapidly by 2030. So companies are now rolling out AI robots that aim to make services like eyelash treatments, yikes, and manicures quicker and cheaper. But will these so-called beauty bots cost people their jobs? Consumer investigative correspondent Anna Werner takes a look.
Customers seeking professional manicures have been heading to nail salons for more than a century. But in San Francisco, you can now stop by the lobby of this office building and have a robot do it. It's the brainchild of startup Clockwork. Co-founder and CEO Renuka Apte says the idea grew partly out of her own frustration with salon appointments.
It hit this pain point that people immediately resonated with.
It takes a long time to get your nails done.
Correct, or beauty services in general.
Clockwork's goal is to place these machines where people live and work, making a manicure super convenient and quick, just 10 minutes.
So we really want this to be like grabbing a cup of coffee. And that could be anywhere from like apartment complexes to corporate offices, retail stores.
We watched as the robot painted my nails with a single perfect blue coat, with just a minor hiccup.
We have a little hole in this one,
requiring a redo of my thumb. Artificial intelligence, AI, is what enables this robot to scan nails individually and paint each accurately. Cecile Quiambo took a break from work to try it.
What do you think?
I love them. I can never paint them this smooth, looking so nice on my own. Never. I see myself coming back here often.
But if another company is successful, you might not have to leave home. Nimble Beauty has sold more than 5,000 of its home devices on Kickstarter and has begun shipping them to early buyers. CEO Omri Moran.
You can do it at any time of the day while getting great results.
Its 4-coat manicure takes about an hour. My Express manicure, 2 coats in about 25 minutes, wasn't quite as precise as the Clockwork manicure, but the company says the machine learns over time using AI.
What would happen if you tried to have a nail painting robot that didn't have AI?
I don't think you can do it without AI.
Because without the AI, you'd basically have a robot that would sort of do like one thing.
Yes, it would be able to identify the specific nails that it has saved in the system versus understanding what a nail is and then figuring out, oh, I'm seeing a nail. This is the shape of this nail. This is the cuticle. That is where the AI comes into play.
But to see what artificial intelligence in the beauty space can really do, take a look at this. You're watching robot arms ever so gently pick their way through this woman's eyelashes to add eyelash extensions. It's a process that typically takes a human over 2 hours of precise, painstaking labor. That's why Loom co-founder Nate Harding decided it was a great job for a robot.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Because why?
Because it's so laborious and it's right on the edge of human ability. Like, I like robotics applications where you're augmenting what a human can do, not really replacing them.
Coming up with a machine that could perform such a delicate task took 6 years. Safety is critical. So Harding says the robot arms that select individual lashes, then glue on the extensions, are literally light as a feather.
We mounted them with little tiny magnets that are so weak, watch, I can just flip it off with my finger like
So
that.
it comes right off,
It comes
right?
right off.
Lisa Sansanong came to Oakland all the way from Kansas for this. Here she is before and after.
It feels great and it looks, I love it.
The Met is not just a place that you visit, but it's really a great service to an audience all around the world.
The Met receives 7 million visitors through its doors annually. However, we're interested in reaching the 3.9 billion internet-connected people all around the globe. The Met's Open Access Collection seeks to make the collection the most accessible, discoverable, and useful on the internet.
There's a lot that goes into creating a work of art.
There's information about the artist. What was the artist inspired by? Why was an object created? So all that information, all that data about an artwork really helps you to get a fuller picture about why it was made.
Our collection spans 5,000 years. We have art from every culture. So just the sheer size of our collection makes it difficult to work with. Subject keyword tags enable us to find connections and patterns across eras, across artistic movements.
Now we're doing work with AI, projects like using tags with cognitive search.
Now that we can leverage cognitive search, we'll be able to tag the whole collection at a much quicker pace.
It's been very exciting to see visually similar artworks and tag prediction. Through AI, we can see things that we didn't have the possibility to see with our naked eye. There are patterns, there's information that are discoverable, connecting art from one piece to the other. We're really able to understand things that we couldn't possibly have dreamed of.
Mars has captivated our imagination for hundreds of years. Its proximity to us, striking resemblance to Earth, and potential to harbor life has made it the target of many robotic missions. But the surface of Mars is not as Earth-like as it might seem.
Every day the temperature swings a lot. It's kind of like in the desert on Earth where you have very, very cold nights and very, very hot days, except it's like, way worse than that.
Like minus 70 degrees Celsius at night worse. The planet can't retain heat because its atmosphere is very thin.
On Mars, the atmosphere is less than 1% the density of Earth, so we can basically treat it like a vacuum.
That, combined with Mars's lack of magnetosphere, means there's almost no protection against dangerous solar and cosmic radiation. To survive, we need a habitat that can provide protection from this extreme environment. And because importing building materials from Earth could be prohibitively expensive, we'll most likely have to build it there with on-site materials using 3D printing. At architecture firm AI Space Factory, Jeffrey and his team came up with Marcia.
Printing the cylinder vertically is actually the ideal shape for a 3D printer because it doesn't have any sharp corners. It's a very, very gentle, predictable, safe shape to build. The interior of the habitat is pressurized, and that means that it wants to sort of blow up like a balloon. And so you need a shape that can efficiently hold back all that pressure. So we knew that we wanted to reduce the diameters at the ends to reduce the structural stresses at those spots. That kind of gives us this resulting egg shape.
After deciding the shape, they had to decide what to make it out of.
The material is really where the rubber meets the road because you have to choose a material that is up for the challenge, and you have to choose a material that you could conceivably make once you get to Mars. And we chose the polymer option because it conferred a number of advantages. For one, it doesn't require water. Water would be a very precious resource on Mars. Another major advantage to the polymer type we were using, which technically are called thermoplastics, are that you could reverse their curing process if you needed to. So with these plastics, you could reheat them and remelt them and redeposit them.
The team then carefully designed the floor plan, optimizing each room for use by astronauts. They also added a rover docking port, windows, and a skylight.
We qualified for the first level just barely, and then we were able to catch up into the second construction level where we got second place. Once we got that award and that prize money, we just threw it right back into the project. That brought us to the final week-long showdown.
NASA invited the top two teams to print a 1/3 scale version of their habitat live in front of a team of judges.
All of the testing we did up until that point was remote, and it was just piecemeal. So we never had a chance to print the actual prototype that we needed to print before we needed to print it. I think one thing we all knew was that when placed under the right circumstances and forced to troubleshoot, that we would figure it out. The question is, how much would we have to figure out during the competition?
The teams had 2 days to set up their machines before printing began. They had just 30 hours split over the course of 3 days to print a complete habitat.
In an ideal scenario, you basically press the play button and your building just builds itself. Of course, in reality, we were active supervisors to this whole process, and the judges had stopwatches. Every time we had to make a change, even if it was just a cautionary change, we would notify the judges. They would start the clock and count that as an intervention. You're the guy? I'm the guy. Started? All right. We're started. The first day was maybe the most nerve-wracking because it was the foundation. The foundation is where everything else rests. And if that's not off to a good start, then your whole habitat may be tilted. So we were very closely watching how that unfolded. Oh. Question is, did I show that I was stressed? I definitely had to stay cool because frantic energy is contagious. The second day was basically steady printing. And we've gotten up to our highest we've ever printed, which is here. Previously we printed about this high, and now we've broken our own record. So tomorrow we're printing the whole day until it gets to about 3 feet wide, which is this. So that's gonna be the diameter at the end. It's got a ways to go.
Oh, good day.
Yes, it's a good day. On day 3, because we switched to a single layer thickness, we were able to print the next 7 feet in one day, which normally took us 2 whole days to do. That was definitely the most intense day.
As the clock ticked closer to the finish line, there was just one task left, placing the skylight.
We knew that the more layers we printed, the better chances the skylight had of sitting on top because it was a tapering form. If we had stopped too soon, the skylight would just fall through.
Ready? Okay, keep going, keep going, keep going.
We sort of released the skylight at 6 p.m.
Keep going, keep going. Disengage.
And it almost stayed in the spot. There was some sort of premature celebration, and then
once the time was up, the two teams had to surrender their designs.
After that, it was like, what could I have done differently for that skylight to not have fallen? And I'm sure everyone was going through those thoughts as well. And then, you know, you go to dinner with your team and celebrate just the madness of having gotten this far.
The judges subjected the designs to a series of structural tests, and then it was time to announce the winner.
First place goes to AI Space Factory. So.
Being announced the winner it felt like I graduated from a 4-year degree where I got accepted into this program and I now had my master's, you know. It was very much like a chapter in my life that I felt was closing.
Hey, Emo. Emo. Turn the light on.
Emo is an AI desktop pet, a little naughty, but very smart. He has his own personality and feelings. He stays by your side to keep you company, to surprise you, and yes, sometimes to annoy you, just like a real pet.
What's the weather?
Emo, take a picture.
Emo uses 2 highly advanced deep neural network CPUs and more than 10 sensors. It's a complex system that contains millions of lines of code to transform AI into a lifelike personality complete with emotions. His friendly face has a camera and is also the window to the world. Emo can intuitively recognize you during interaction. Emo has a 4-microphone array to listen to your greetings, questions, and all the sounds around it. And he can recognize where the sound comes from.
Take a photo.
Emo moves gracefully around on the desktop. His sensors help him avoid obstacles, and he knows not to fall off the table edge. We have designed games and dances for Emo. We did extensive research and tests, and paid great attention to every single design detail. We hope Emo will be a cool guy, so we gave Emo a little style, with some street culture, disco, and hip-hop attitude. Emo loves rock music, The skateboard designed for Emo charging can also power up mobile phones. Emo also contains a high-performance speaker.
Hey, Emo, music.
Emo's brain connects to the internet to answer your questions.
Emo, what is the weather right now?
You can set an alarm.
Hey, Emo, turn the light on.
This is Emo's smart light. No need to configure the network, it's very easy to use. We hope that Emo is a pet with a meaningful life that helps bring you joy and companionship. But sometimes Emo gets a cold and needs your care.
Oh, you freak. Hey, Mom!
He can feel your love by the way you interact with him. And Emo will surprise you with many rewards. He will surprise you during special holidays and remember you on your birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Now, Emo is here.
Emo.
We have done a great job on Emo and test a lot to make sure Emo is ready to live with you. Emo may not change your life, but he will always bring you a little joy and fun.